Welcome to Work in Progress, Conversations with Creators. I'm your host, Logan Roy Spiteman. On today's episode, I have with me Eliza Gilkyson, who's a really great folk artist based in Taos. We had a wonderful conversation. I hope that you enjoy.
If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all of our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. See the show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading news.
Okay, hello, Eliza. Thank you for being with me.
Thank you. Thank you, Logan.
And let's talk about your new album, Dark Ages. It just came out April 25th. Tell me, I think I know what inspired it, but tell me what inspired the album.
This is one of the few times where all the songs came at once. And so if I look at them as a collective body, I have to say there's definitely some reaction to what's going on in the world today in this record, and some pushback in my mind. And so also I think I've been trying to find a way to live in the chaos and the uncertainty of this time in our country. So that has to be reflected in my music. I'm one of those writers who sometimes I wish I could just inhabit somebody else's reality and write story songs based on another reality. But I'm very much one of those artists who comes from my own experience day to day, and that's what inspires me. That's what motivates me. That's where the songs seem to find their voice. So I am being affected by what's going on around me, and that comes out in the music.
And I know that you've been, you've sung songs that have to do with social justice in the past. I do feel like this is a little bit more pointed, especially the title track, Dark Ages.
Yeah.
Maybe just talk a little bit about that.
I feel like that song came out of such a state of sort of anger, anguish, and frustration. And it's one of the few times ever that I've used an expletive in a song.
Yeah.
I don't usually, because all it does is limit my ability to get on the radio, so it's not really like a very smart thing to do. I mean,
there's one line where I think you drop 3 or 4 F-bombs within a sentence.
I do. Yeah. And boy, did I have to think about it, because I realized how it would limit me. I realized that it might turn some people off. I really agonized over it. And I talked to, other people about it. But the whole song builds towards that. If you take that out, then in a way it felt compromised, and it didn't reach the apex of frustration and anger. So I left it in, and then we've had to deal with, doing a edited version, censored version for radio and that kind of thing. But you should see what happens at shows with it. It's so cathartic and so honest, and it's so much where people are feeling right now, so angry that this group of really talentless clowns are running our country and demolishing democracy. It's really scary, and it's frustrating. And so I think right now that it is a time to push back, even in music.
So the response from your shows has been really strong, and people are, I think, maybe people feel like they need that expression.
They need that catharsis, that cathartic moment where it's just, and they stand up, they stand up and freak out. It's like, thank you, and so, but there are places where I don't play it, that song. Yeah. I can't, and it's not fair to my promoters at shows. If they have an audience, it's going to compromise their funding or, that kind of thing. I'm not out to screw my own people, So I really think about it for each show. I talk to my promoters about it. I have plenty of songs I can do that are political, that don't go the extra mile. So it's just kind of a moment to moment decision that I have to make.
Do you feel like your fans like are, kind of span a range of political ideas and
Yeah, that, not really. I mean, I think I'm, this is my 26th album or something. So
right.
my fans kind of know where I come from, and
They know who you are.
yeah,
Yeah.
they
I mean,
do.
I remember hearing like an interview with like Neil Young at one point. This was maybe during the George W. Bush administration. He was getting booed at a concert, because he was expressing political, and he's like, don't they know who I am? Like,
I know. But, I think there's a lot of people who love folk music
right.
and who grew up in that genre, with that genre and that music, and they love like Peter, Paul and Mary, let's say, but they never really thought about the political content. My friend Mary Chapin Carpenter, who has been political and pro women's rights and the women's movement for as long as I have. I was just talking to her the other day, and she is getting an incredible amount of backlash for just coming out in support of Bruce Springsteen's statement. Right. I mean, death threats. It's
wow.
Yeah. So it's all really, and these are people who Chapin has been political for a long time, and and these are her fans. I'll never buy another record of yours again, and it's like, well, okay. Don't you know who I am?
Yeah. But I mean, I admire artists who stand up for what they believe, regardless of, what the commercial consequences might be,
I do too. I really appreciate it, but I also appreciate artists who are on the front lines of people who don't think like they do, and what they do is very subtle, and what they're trying to do is open the heart a little bit so that people will have some compassion or maybe change their perspective. You can't do that with radical rhetoric. You have to be really subtle and gentle, and so I appreciate people who have that as their task.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting because I think your music could be classified as folk or alt country, or I don't know, country and Western, Americana. I mean, and I feel like these are all kind of describing something similar, but the labels maybe have different, like it may not even be so much musically different between like alt country or folk, but maybe it's almost kind of more like a different, maybe political or just a different perspective. I don't know. How do you kind of think about genre?
I think about it a lot, and it's actually one of the reasons I'm a very, very vocal advocate for folk being its own category, which has been very much distilled, and certainly by the in the Grammy world, the National Recording Arts and Sciences, Recording Arts and Sciences. That's a big group, and they have been systematically reducing the folk genre and sort of tying it all into Americana and singer-songwriter. Right. And I really hope, and sort of left of center country, and I really don't want that to happen, because folk music has a very time-honored tradition of being political, and I want it to keep its identity intact. And so I think of myself really as a folk singer in the old school tradition. I do cross genres in terms of production style, but I think just in terms of what I'm writing about, it's very much in the tradition of folk music.
And you've covered a few Bob Dylan songs over the years, Chimes of Freedom, one of my favorites on your Misfits album, Hard Rain's Gonna Fall, and I'm thinking, I mean, you were kind of growing up, you were like a teenager in the 60s, right?
You're absolutely right. And I was just thinking about this recently. I fell between the different generational groups. And I think if I had been born 7 or 8 to 10 years earlier, I would have been right in the Joan Baez, Judy Collins, Joni Mitchell camp. but I'm 10 years younger than they are, and I'm 10 years older than, let's say, the John Gorka and Mary Chapin,
Right.
Sean Colvin group. I'm 10 years older than those guys. So I really fell in it's between the cracks. At Commitment High School, I really, I just couldn't wait to get out there, but I had to wait. And by then the ship had sort of moved on. So I just have to think of myself as being sort of a drifter between genres.
But when you were because I guess you started like in the 80s, right? I feel like you kind of came, got more notoriety in the 90s and 2000s maybe. But I'm trying to think like who else, like I don't know, like the Indigo Girls maybe were.
I'm still about 10 years older than those guys, but
are you?
Yes,
okay.
I did start.
And then it was in like the Cowboy Junkies. I'm just,
Yes.
which I know you've been compared to a little bit.
I love her and I love them, and but they're probably 20 years younger than me. So, so I'm always listening to what's coming up, and it influences me, but I still have this very fundamental grounding in the old folk music style. Even if I wanted to, it's really hard for me to shift out of it.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to meet some of your, people who inspired you when you were younger?
I've met, well, of course, Joan Baez has recorded 3 of my songs. So you can't imagine how, full circle that has been for me. Have, and for her to pick, political stuff, but also stuff that isn't political. I'm super grateful and in awe of her. So that hit was really an honor for me. And I've met Joni Mitchell. I don't know what to say to those people. I've had many opportunities to meet Bob Dylan, and I have no desire to meet him. I just what do you say to an icon? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's
they don't know who you are, and you don't have time.
And it's like anything that you want to know about them, you probably already know, right?
Yes, and they couldn't be less interested in me. So, it's like, okay, it's all right. And the people come up to me all the time, and I know they love my music, and they hand me their CD, and I find that's what I don't want to do with those guys. Here's my CD, but they're going to give it international distribution by throwing it out the car window or the bus window or something.
Right. I mean, you're at a different level. You've been, had Grammy nominations, and you're kind of you're not just here's my CD,
Yeah. Yes, that's true. And of course, with the people that I know who are famous, I know they listen and they appreciate me. It's not like I'm just coming up out of the blue, but yeah, I don't know. It's a funny thing, success and all the various levels that, and the categorization and perception that goes along with those categorizations.
It's so weird. I feel like in the arts, it's like there's no other industry that's like where you have such kind of a wide range of what people are getting paid and how kind of levels of fame, and and it's not, I don't know, it's not about talent or it's like people are great at all levels. You are so that is so true. What an incredibly perceptive thing to say. It's so much about luck meeting preparation and destiny and all those things. And I don't want anybody else's life. I've had a really good run. I've had my really great moments in the light with Grammy nominations. And so, but I also, I know too many extremely talented people who have not had success on the bus tour level, right. It's made me, I like you, I think it's luck, destiny, fate, and talent has to be in there too. But sometimes it's not. You hear people, you think, my God, I would not. I hear songs sometimes. I think if I wrote that, I would have thrown it out. But it's somebody who's like what? Could you give me an example? You don't want to say anything negative about anyone?
Let's see who. Oh, there's some of the pop songs I feel that way about, but
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
I
No, well,
remember.
that's.
Okay, I remember
Mhm.
Madonna when because she came out, um, crawling across the floor in a wedding gown and with her boobs
Mhm.
hanging out, and then years later she tried to get like serious, and I remember thinking. I saw her, I don't know, it was some show. I don't know why I even saw, and I thought the songs were, she was trying to sit down with a guitar and sing, like in a
Right.
folk style, and it so sucked. And I remember thinking, boy, you strip away the production and all the
Yeah.
goddess, all the
Right.
Aphrodite
Yeah.
posturing, and what have you really got, but also as a pop star, she was fabulous. So
Yeah.
it's just sometimes you think that isn't a great song once you take the all the bells and whistles off of it.
Right. Right. How long have you lived in Taos?
Well, I bought the house um, 11 years ago when the market was down, and I was still living in Austin. And I put it on Airbnb like everybody, and just tried to hang on to it. But then when COVID hit in 2020, we left Austin and moved up here. And that once we got into this house, we just thought, why are we living in Texas? So we sold our Austin house and paid this one off. And so we're very happy to be here. It's sort of the end of the trail, but we like it.
I mean, Austin obviously has a much more vibrant music scene.
Really does. And I miss my friends, and I miss that scene a lot. My kids are there too, and my grandkids. So but I get down there. We have this,
So you go back, you
yeah,
have
we
excuses
have a
to
little
go. Yeah.
airlines here that goes directly to Austin nonstop. It's like,
Yeah.
so I get to go, but I really do miss my friends. And I had been sick for a couple of years, so I didn't get to go down there, and I really missed them. But I'm well now, so got lots of plans to go down there.
And it must be, I mean, do you feel it's easier to write when you have a little space and time to yourself and not so many friends around always dropping in and stuff?
My writing has been so consistent over the last, I'd say, 30 years. I mean,
Hmm.
before, when I was younger, I was so angst driven. I think I wrote a lot more, but now I'm putting out 10 songs every 2 years. And I'm writing a little bit more than that, but it's about the same as it's always been. It's just I'm not touring as much, so
Yeah.
I was taking longer between releases because I was on the road so much. But I'm really not touring the way I used to. I'm not the road dog I used to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
want to be creative, so I think that's why I just end up sitting down and writing.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your process like?
Yeah, I'm not a very undisciplined writer. I do it almost out of some kind of I've tried everything else. Now, I very I think what I have to do is sort of shut off all the input stuff and get almost uncomfortable with myself
Hmm.
and kind of sit through that a little bit and not placate myself. It's a little exercise in self-discipline to not go and eat, not go talk to somebody, not go online. It takes me a couple of days, even sometimes, to turn off all the input output thing that we all are into. And when I do that, there's a sort of moment where I just got to pick up the guitar, and then I start playing around with it. I write music first, and
Yeah.
this new record was every single song was written music first. So I just collect chord progressions, snippets of melodies, and then I keep them on my phone. And when it's time to make a record, I pull out all these snippets of ideas, and the thing gets going. And it's like once you open the trap door and go down into the cave, there's all kinds of stuff there. And and then when I'm done, I'm so done. And I'm like, how did I do that? I don't even know how I wrote those songs. But then, I'm on the other side of it. So I know I can do it, but there's always this feeling like, is this the last song I'm ever going to write?
That's so funny. I hear that from other people that, I just talked to a photographer, Lynn Stern, who was like, every time she does a new series, she's like, well, that's it. That's all, what else am I, and then she, comes up with a new one. I don't know, but I don't know. I think a lot of creative people have that feeling.
It's sort of like, it's like, remember Felix? Well, he's too old for you, but Felix the cat. He had this black spot. Remember, he'd throw the black spot up in the air, and then he'd jump through it and go into this other world. And maybe that's what it's like. Sort of, I have to conjure up the black spot, and once it's there, I'm in.
How do you conjure up that spot?
Like I say, I think I have to shut everything out for a while.
Do you do like meditation or anything? I know a lot of your music seems to allude to spirituality.
I think I think that I'm what I might call is a non-religious believer or something, or a religious non-believer, or
Right.
I don't really have a prescribed belief system, but I don't meditate. I do a lot of breathing though. But I do that for calming. I don't really do that for writing. I do that because I get so worried about everything going on that, and I don't sleep and stuff. So I certainly do some sort of meditation, breathing, but not for writing. I'm just embroiled in my soup for writing.
Yeah. Let me ask you, because one of my favorite songs on this album is Stranger. And that's not a political song, I don't think, but it's sort of about being in a relationship, being with someone, maybe being in bed with them and they're asleep, but feeling like they're a stranger. You don't know everything about them, and tell me a little bit about that. Where that came from.
I'm so glad that song spoke to you, because that's my husband's favorite song on the record too, and it's really one of my favorites. I love it that it's not political, and it was really important to me to put non-political stuff on this record, because I wanted to balance all these precious things, all these things that are worth living for and worth loving and worth fighting for. I wanted to balance this record out with those, with a sense of gratitude and wonder for those things, nature and relationships, people that are of value. And the thing was funny about that song is that as I was writing it, I had this editor voice that was coming in way too early. It was the critic. And he was just like, you can't say that. You can't say that someone you've been with is a stranger. That's weird, And I had to really fight that urge to not say it. And then it was like, no, I got to let this thing say what it wants to say, because really, to presume that we know everything about this person, our partner, even if we've been together for 20 years, like my husband and I have, it's presumptuous to think you know every facet of them, and it's mysterious to not know, and I think it keeps the romance alive, and the excitement of being with a person is this sort of unfathomable being that has chosen to stay with you and to see you as being a stranger sometimes as well. I think it's pretty great. And I had to, believe me, I had to work through some stuff to accept it.
Well, and I'm glad that your husband reacted well to it and wasn't offended, I guess.
I thought about that.
He took it in the right way.
Yes, I thought about that too. It was like, what's he going to think that I think of him as, that I don't, that I think of him as a stranger? But no, he loved it. He agreed. Yeah, it was cool.
Because it has that double thing where it's like, I mean, sometimes people in a relationship feel like they're strangers to each other in a really bad way. Like, okay, it's time to, maybe we should be strangers in the future, But then I think you're kind of touching on something else, that there's always a mystery. There's always something about, we can never fully, inhabit another person's experience. And I mean, it reminds me a little of the song I think it's called Strangers by the Kinks, if you know that one.
I don't know that
So,
one. I have to look it up.
Strangers on this road we're on. We're not two, we are one.
Oh, I don't even know that one. I'm writing it down.
Anyway, it's a nice, another song that has,
yes, the idea of being strangers, but
some similar idea
and
there,
being on this road together,
Yeah.
Love that. Strangers.
Now you grew up in a musical family. Your dad, I think, wrote, was it The Bare Necessities and a bunch of the songs from the Jungle Book, among other things? Did I have that right?
He actually was commissioned by Walt Disney to write the songs for the Jungle Book, and they only accepted The Bare Necessities. He had written all the others, and they were marvelous. But my dad was very into the Rudyard Kipling and the Mowgli stories. So the real Mowgli stories were very dark, and my dad, the songs he wrote were a bit too dark for Walt and
for Disney.
Yeah, and so they canned all the songs that he had written for them, but the animators came back and said, "Please put the Bare Necessities back. We want the Bare Necessities. We can animate to that. Please put it back." So they put it back in the movie. And of course,
it's a great song.
It's a killer song. And if he'd only written that one song, I think he could rest on his laurels.
Yeah. What was it like growing up with a songwriter? And I'm sure, and you're a songwriter, so did you learn from him growing up?
More by osmosis, I think. The music was around us all the time. The music people around us were in his second incarnation of his band, the Easy Riders. One of the guys in the band was Carson Parks, a young songwriter, and his brother Van Dyke Parks. And they were in one of the the second incarnation of my dad's band, but they were quite young and they were so cool. And so they influenced me too. And they were actually my teachers. And my dad actually had Carson teach me how to play guitar. So, but my dad wasn't really, I don't know that he thought the music business was a great idea for me to get into it. I think he was starting to wind down his career when I was just starting, because of the 60s, revolution in music was happening, the Beatles. And so I think my dad was sort of, wary of my getting into the business, but he was supportive. He would put me in the studio and he was supportive of my little bands I was in and the recordings I made. But I think his music the biggest influence was just his music, melodically, structurally, emotionally. I think there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, that's interesting. And your siblings are involved in music as well.
Well, my sister was a vice president at Warner Brothers. But we had a little band when we were teenagers, and she was
great, is that right? I
great
didn't know
singer
that.
and guitar player. But she didn't.
What kind of band?
We were like a little girl duo, and she great guitar player. She had these little parts and stuff. We were, I think, 14 and 16, but she was not. Ended up not being interested. I was hooked. And my brother, of course, went on as a guitar player, and now releasing his own records. Tony.
Yeah. And you still see each other? And
oh yes, one's in Santa Fe, and Tony's coming up actually this week.
That's great. Yeah.
He's in Los Angeles now, but he comes out a lot.
Let me ask you about one more thing on the album. I think it's the last song, Esta Salida del Sol. So it seems, influenced by Mexican music. And I don't know. Yeah. Maybe talk a little bit about that song, where that came from.
Yes. It's actually an older song that I completely rewrote, because my viewpoint has changed. But when I was 7 years old, I got a really bad pneumonia, and I was down for several months at home. I couldn't go to school or anything. And I found this Mexican radio station. I can't remember the name of the station. It was out of San Diego, but I just fell in love with the music they were playing. It was just the three-part harmonies, the guitars, the sort of ranchero style, but also the romantic ballads, I just was hooked, and it was just foundational for me. And because my dad's band, the Easy Riders, they had a little Mexican flavor in some of their songs, and their three-part harmonies were traditional with a gut string lead guitar and stuff. So I think it was a very natural evolution for me to glom onto this other style of folk music, and it just kept growing in me. And I'm not great with the language, but I know I can write in that language. I've written 3 or 4 songs in Spanish, and I think anybody who's fluent would hear how kind of childlike they are. But there's a kind of a childlike innocence and sweetness to them that I think works, and that I don't think I could say those things in English and have them sound the way they do in Spanish. So I hope I don't offend people, but I love the language so much, and it only comes from an honoring of that music.
Yeah, and I think, it makes sense, being in the Southwest, and it's sort of, part of it seeps into you. And I know what you mean about, like writing in a language that you're not so fluent in, and so you have to be a little more simple. And sometimes I think, sometimes the most difficult thing is to be simple. Like you can write a lot of flowery, but like to really hone it down and say something and have an authentic emotion. Sometimes it's more powerful, and it's also more difficult, maybe, you think?
I just, that's so well said. I absolutely agree. And some of it is just almost ironically is that I'm not good at declining verbs. And so I'm forced into the present tense, which is so immediate,
Right,
and puts
right.
you just immediately in a moment. And so I think there is some of that in there as well. And also that a second language is mysterious, and you have to interpret, you have to project a little bit more to go there. So I think it definitely challenges a different part of your brain and heart.
Yeah. Well, and so much of your music, I mean, it really does speak to the heart, it's, and I wonder, how do you, not just in terms of writing, we've been talking a lot about that, but as a singer, how do you connect emotionally to the music and communicate that? Or it just happens? I don't know.
Well, I really have, and I had a song on the last record that Mary Chapin sang with me called Sparrow. And the song is absolutely about where the songs come from and why. And songs are pulled out of me by the listener. And that really, as I've gotten older, I've realized much more consciously how dependent I am on the listener to take what I'm saying and take it in. And so I feel like it's a two-way street. I need from my listeners to be there and respond and to take it in, and that I feel like they draw it out of me, so that every time I sing it live, it's new to me, and I'm trying to find some tone, because I'm not like a heavy chops singer. I don't have all these chops and everything. I have a pretty good range, but for me, it was always about, what does the heart sound like? What is the tone of a heart? And how do I make my voice connect with that? And that was a conscious thing I've worked on since I first started singing out. Was what is the sound of this feeling?
Well, this is really wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
Hey, anytime you want to talk, man, you got my number. Anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. I look forward to seeing you.